Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Fantasy News. I'm your disheveled goblin host Daniel Green, and today I am excited to give you the first update on the Wheel of Time summary video we're working on here. We are officially 1/7 of the way done in terms of recording. I have both the Eye of the World and the Great Hunt fully recorded and summarized, and the Eye of the World is well over halfway done in its edit of its summary, and that will be posted to Patreon once it's done. After we get through all 14 books, it'll be posted here on the YouTube channel in one massive video. Easily the biggest video I have ever done. Already we're at like 3 hours of footage, so...
I'm in danger!
But just to increase the excitement, the summary boards by the time I was done with them for book 1 looked like this, and book 2 looked like that. So try and decipher those hieroglyphics while you wait. Or if you'd like to wait a little less long, jump on over to Patreon, throw us a buck, and you can give us feedback and help us polish that final edit. But now, let us get into the first story of the day, and I'm sad to say that this one is a gut punch. The publisher Boundless is seeming to screw over its entire catalog of authors. Previously known as Unbound, the company seems to have sold itself to largely the same people who ran the previous one, and after promising a huge retinue of over 230 authors that their late payments would still be delivered despite the company changing basically titles, allegedly, they are now saying that will not be done, and that the payments that these authors are owed will just be delivered if in the future the company can afford to do so. And if that sounds bad, oh boy, does it get worse. One of the authors is a YouTuber, and I will have his video where he gets in depth about exactly how much he's been screwed over in the links down below. I actually have to put those in a comment now because YouTube has been like suppressing my videos for having too many links in the descriptions. Sorry about that. But official Nerd Cubed had to hold on to the signing plates that he was supposed to give to this company just so that they would keep talking to him about the money he was owed. And the title of his video is 40,000 pounds gone.
Last Friday, I was informed by my publisher, Boundless, who took over from Unbound earlier this year, that I won't be paid the majority of the money that my book, The Paradox, has earned during its 5-year pre-sale period. And it's not just me, I'm one of 238 authors, illustrators, etc. who aren't being paid for work that they have already done, for copies of books they have already sold, and that our publisher has profited from. Altogether, Boundless has decided that £657,000 of money earned by authors can just be written off. In March this year, Unbound collapsed into administration. A new company, Boundless, headed by most of the same people, bought all of Unbound's assets for £50,000, yet seemingly none of the obligations that came with them. In a mass email, we were told how this was a good thing, and how all of our payments will be fine. 30th of May at 3:32 AM. A mass email goes out to all authors, and here are some choice quotes. Boundless has no legal obligation to pay any of the debts of Unbound. The new company, Boundless, set out a voluntary plan to honour historic obligations by making goodwill payments to authors and suppliers whose royalties and invoices remained unpaid under Unbound. However, under the current conditions, the capital raised from new investors to launch Boundless Publishing Group is only sufficient to cover royalties generated from the date of Boundless's formation. Therefore, until the company is on firmer financial footing, it will be unable to make further goodwill payments on historic royalties owned by Unbound. Goodwill payments. Goodwill payments, that's the phrase right there, isn't it?
Like, this isn't just authors being screwed out of contracts. This isn't just authors finding out their books won't be published. These books have been published. They have been sent to their fans. These authors have done the work and found success. They're just not going to be paid for it. And according to official Nerd Cubed, He's talked to some of these authors who now cannot make rent, cannot pay mortgages. They did years of work, got publishing deals, got their books out there, and now they're being stolen from because of corporate shenanigans. And while this is going on, a whole bunch of the senior staff over at now known as Boundless are in the middle of resigning. According to official Nerd Cubed, it's a company of about 18 people, and he rattled off well over 3 or 4 names that have recently left the company. There's so much more shady stuff in this story that I don't have quite time to get into, so I recommend you check out Daniel Hardcastle, the runner of said YouTube channel's full video on it, but there's additional examples, like how apparently they had the profits they owed him, and instead of paying him with them, they, without his permission, used that money to fund a paperback run. And on top of that, he's alleging they put his book on sale for like 85% without letting him know very early on. Just wow. Boy, am I glad I did additional research on this one, because I have found even more alleged wrongdoing by Boundless. So breaking down what we know so far, it has been alleged by several authors that they are owed substantial amounts of money in the realm of around $650,000 in terms of back pay. But then at the last minute, when they said they were going to get all these agreements and deals done, they instead totally turned around and said, actually, we don't owe you anything because we're a new company. And so all those profits that we've been putting towards other business investments, without telling you, we're just not going to pay you. But if you jump on over to Blue Sky, there is now an author who has taken the claims even further. At effinbirds.com responded to a post from an employee that quit Unbound saying, I said in an interview that I have a lot of empathy for you because you lost your dream too, but Unbound sales report showing my second book as a flop when it actually sold out its print was unfathomably cruel. Seeing Ingram's data showing 10 times the sales I was paid for broke my heart. Now, what crime is being alleged here?
It's fraud.
Now, to be fair, the employee they're responding to is someone who quit Unbound because they were just absolutely grossed out by the company not actually following through on its payments owed to these authors. And whether or not they knew about this alleged fraud within the company is completely unknown. And within their own statement, they even said, the company's current position is morally and financially unacceptable. We started Unbound to offer an alternative to the traditional publishing model, to offer a better, fairer deal for authors. That starts with paying them on time. If there is any money in the business, it should go to them. Completely agree. Will that happen? I doubt it unless the lawyers get involved aggressively and fast. For those of you unaware, Unbound/Boundless was founded with a crowdsourcing model in mind so that authors could essentially do pre-sales and then naturally slide into publishing, which can be a perfectly valid business model in publishing. You just have to do it, not shittily. This gets into a really complex situation when it comes to crossing over from art to business. And I know getting an agent is incredibly hard and not something that everyone can even do. But if you are not going to indie publish your book and you are approaching hybrid and/or trad publishing, it absolutely behooves you, if you do not at least have an agent, to pay the upfront cost to at least have an entertainment lawyer on your side, which I'm sure many of the authors involved with this did do. I'm just trying to add the additional warning, safeguard, anything I can for people who are trying to step from the artistic space into the business world. I love this time in publishing. I think it's so exciting that anyone from any walk of life can find success on their own or in traditional routes. It's just shark-filled waters out there, so please be careful. What this company has done in terms of failing to properly report sales numbers, having authors allegedly miss out on being in New York Times bestseller lists, will irrevocably stunt some of their careers. And that is horrible.
The 20th of April, 2025, I pop out to buy a copy of the Sunday Times to see the Paradox on the Sunday Times bestsellers list. My book isn't listed, despite having more than enough sales to make it onto the list. I eventually find out that some system changed somewhere and that Unbound's pre-sales were no longer counted towards that list. My contacts at Boundless had known about this since the end of 2024, but they didn't tell me until it was too late for me to do anything about it. 238 people who this affects, and I've been speaking to them, and each one has their own unique story about how Unbound screwed something massive up. We've had delayed reprints, missing important dates and leading to lost sales. I've had vague foreign sales statements. We've had endless lies about almost every facet of the business. One author received an email from Unbound saying that they won't be able to provide books for their book launch event just 6 minutes before the book launch event. I've talked to authors who now can't pay bills, who can't pay rent, who can't pay mortgages, people who are having to sell their own possessions to make ends meet. This isn't people losing jobs, this is people who have done their jobs.
But in a final update to the story that proves people are still pretty cool, on Blue Sky, a member named Alisander Stewart has been getting together authors who are affected by this and making it so you can buy their personal stock if you'd like to, like directly from the author, not from the publisher, by just checking out the people who have replied there. Maybe find a book that interests you, and that way, like, you know, we can all still be a great, awesome community despite when people get screwed over. Because the Nebula Awards have officially announced their winners for 2024, and for the category of Best Novel, the winner was a book by John Wiswell, Someone You Can Build a Nest In. This book is described as Shishishin has made a mistake fatal to all monsters. She's fallen in love. Shishishin is a shapeshifter who happily resides in an amorphous lump at the bottom of a ruined manor. When her rest is interrupted by impolite monster hunters, she constructs a body from the remains of past meals, a metal chain for a backbone, borrowed bones for limbs, and a bear trap as an extra mouth. Badly hurt by the hunters, Shishishin's nursed back to health by Homily, a warm-hearted human. Homily is kind and would make a great co-parent, an ideal place to lay Shishishin's eggs so their young can devour Homily from the inside out. But as they grow close, Shishishin realizes that eating her girlfriend is an option. Just as Shishishin's about to confess her identity, Homily reveals something else. She's hunting a shape-shifting monster that supposedly cursed her family. Has Shishishin seen it anywhere? Shishishin didn't curse anyone. So now she has to figure out why Homily's twisted family thinks she did. As Shishishin's hunt for the monster becomes increasingly deadly, the bigger challenge remains: learning how to build a life with, rather than in, the woman she loves. Why was that so successfully repugnantly adorable? I loved that. All right. And the best novella winner was a book by A.D. Sui called The Dragonfly Gambit. Pitched as nearly 10 years after Inez Kato sustained a career-ending injury during a military exercise gone awry, she lies, cheats, and seduces her way to the very top to destroy the fleet that she was once a part of, even at the cost of her own life. Rezel, third daughter of the Rule, has 6 months left to live. She is desperate to end the 20-year war she was birthed to fight. But when she brings Inez aboard the mothership, a chess game of manipulation and double-crossing begins to unfold, and the Rule doesn't stand a chance. I think what I'm most impressed by that is how complex it sounds for a novella, but it's really well reviewed, as you're seeing on screen, and is winning a Nebula Award, so I'm like super curious, interest perked. I don't know why I'm clutching my heart at that. Before we get into the cover reveals though, I gotta warn you, I have a rant at the end of this video, but it's a positive rant, a pant. You'll see when you get there, it'll all make sense. Let's all be real with each other. Quitting bad habits is extraordinarily hard. Recently, I've been trying to kick a habit to clear my head while I'm writing, but I found myself needing to reach for something just out of the familiarity of putting something in my mouth and having a bit of an oral fixation. But that is where today's sponsor, Fume, comes in. Fee-fi-fo Fume, here to help you crush by replacing bad habits. And to make it clear, this is not a vape. There's no nicotine, no vapor, it's just a flavored core. What Fume does is replace your habit of intaking things that may not be the best for you, and instead retrains your brain by having something that doesn't even have a battery in it, delivered flavored air whenever you give it a pull. For me, it's kind of like just getting a taste of tea every time I want to satisfy that oral fixation without having to actually, you know, light something up. And on top of that, it's even designed to be a fidget. They're sleek, portable, and designed to last. It's actually got real wood on there. Nice. My go-to flavor has been the orange vanilla because it tastes like a creamsicle and I'm a child inside. But on top of that, they have wonderful flavors like grapefruit, white cranberry, a raspberry lemon core, as well as crisp mint if you want to kind of just feel like you have great breath all day. And swapping out the cores is as simple as opening it up, putting a different perfume pouch in there, and you're ready to go. So if you'd like to join the over 500,000 people who have already given this award-winning habit changer a try, go ahead and click the link in the description down below or scan the QR code. And if you're interested in the Journey Pack, all you have to do is enter code Daniel Green and you'll get a free fume topper, which is great for germ freaks like me. Go ahead and take the first step to change your habits. Go to tryfume.com/Daniel Green or scan the QR code to get yours today. Back to the video. But this is going to take us to the cover reveals for this week's episode of Fantasy News, and we're going to be kicking it off with a cover from Nightfire Books, the Tor horror print, with art by Sadan Vague, called Crawl Space, a book by Adam Christopher. Mission lead Olivia O'Connor and her team from the Artemis Corporation, along with their military liaison, are in the final preparations for an undertaking that will alter the course of human history, a test flight that promises to open up new frontiers in the expanse of the universe. But their journey between dimensions is one they never trained for. Strange voices in the corridors, long lost faces not forgotten, strange symbols carved in the hull and gathering outside the ship. Ancient forces beyond reckoning. The crew will need all their skills to survive and uncover the twisted truth behind their mission. Is it just me, or is that like serious Event Horizon vibes? Which isn't a bad thing. I love the premise of Event Horizon, and while I like the movie, I think it could be executed better.
We're leaving.
I actually love when like you take space travel and horrific consequences and you make them meet in like a sci-fantasy way. Bring in some of the extra level spoopy to increase the horror of already existing in the vacuum of space, able to die at any second if something goes wrong in your ship. I don't think about that a lot at all. And Crawl Space is coming March 17th of 2026. But our next cover reveal is going to be for Liminal Monster by Luke Terzane, who also, it seems, did the art. Badass. And Liminal Monster is expected to be released. And Liminal Monster is expected to be released. Liminal Monster is expected to be released August 27th of 2025. In the center of the forest sits a house of leaves and ash. Inside the house, his heart and lies. Inside the house called Sempiternity, there is a lake, at the center of which an island sits. Upon the island, a spire of stone. Surrounding the spire, an orchid of dreams. Beneath an apple tree sits faceless self, who writes of sorry things. What an awful place, what a cruelty is, being birthed of pain. But when a dog that should not be wanders into Sempiternity through a door that should not be, self learns a terrible truth. Sempiternity is no longer safe, no longer theirs. Fictional failures come in search of proper ends, in search of slaughter quelled by self's prosaic hand, in search of lies. Thus self departs Sempiternity for the forest dark, for at its center is the ruined town of Own, the place where the nightmare began. I simultaneously feel like both I had a stroke and that I am very interested. Piranesi meets Lovecraftian, what is happening? But in terms of series news, we have also gotten a cover reveal for the latest book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And if you're a bit confused, yes, this book is already out, but only with the first art style of the DCC series, not with the ones you are seeing on the shelves. And so this Inevitable Ruin, the latest book in Dungeon Crawler Carl, is going to have this artwork once it actually hits shelves. Illustrated by Will Stale. And this came along with an interview with Matt Dinneman. You, of course, can see right down below the like button, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you. None of those, despite how great they've been so far, have been my favorite cover of the day. And that is because we have had a cover drop for Ndia Okorafor, and oh my lord, this is a hell of a cover for The Daughter Who Remains, She Who Knows, Book 3, with art by Greg Ruth, designed by Jim Tierney. Pitched as, Najiba has something terrible to kill, and now she's off to go and kill it. a fully trained, mature, and sharply focused sorcerer, Najiba has left the comfort and security of her town with two companions, the glassmaker Dadan and the old camel Morningstar. This journey takes her back to where it all began, and despite the fact that her training with the sorcerer, Aro, forced her to face her deepest fears, she hasn't seen anything close to what she's about to see. A masquerade does not dance for nothing. The Daughter Who Remains is the final book in the She Who Knows novella trilogy. This tale isn't about learning to master one's powerful skills. It's about having the audacity and courage to use them and use them well, no matter the consequences. And I don't often do this, but I have to say, I do as well have a least favorite cover of the week. And unfortunately, it's for a series I love, but it's just not a style I dig. Well, I know there are tons of fans of said style. And this is going to be for the UK release for Christopher Rocchio's the latest book in the Sun Eater series, Shadows Upon Time. And despite me really enjoying the color and maybe even a bit of the depth achieved here, it's the placement of objects seemingly just randomly that I know is trying to go for like a epic ethereal almost effect of like impossibility that makes me just not end up loving it, because I've seen this specific effect achieved so much more effectively. And with this being a UK cover, that officially means the United States has the better Sun Eater covers. Fuck yeah! That being said though, I'm very open to this being one of those covers that looks much better in person. Like I was originally against the new DCC style, but then I actually saw them in the flesh, page flesh, and I ended up thinking they were pretty badass. But for the final cover reveal of the day, I am specially qualified to give it a review, and that is because it is the cover for 9 Goblins, a tale of low fantasy and high mischief by T. Kingfisher. And this has cover by Carson Lowmiller. And hold up, let me take in these goblins. Yep, I am getting distinctly Krinko from Magic the Gathering vibes. It seems more like mischievous mob-style goblins, and I know nothing about this, but I know I'm right. All right, I'm actually gonna read the synopsis and see if I'm anywhere within the ballpark. When a confrontation with an evil wizard leads a troop of 9 goblins behind enemy lines, it's up to Sergeant Nesselik to keep them together and alive. I don't think I'm entirely off. It does seem like a gaggle of goblins getting up to something mischief. I couldn't think of a G word for mischief. This will be coming out January 20th of 2026. That does seem like a premise that plays into T. Kingfisher's strengths quite well. But in our final hardcore book news story, the Dresden Files first book, Stormfront, has been picked up by GraphicAudio. Coming out August 27th of 2025 with a runtime of 7 hours, this pillar in the urban fantasy space will be getting a new narration with this, with a full cast of actors. And how fans are gonna feel about that with how dedicated they are to James Marsters' performance, I have no idea. Though I know GraphicAudio has like hardcore fans who will only consume an audiobook if it's GraphicAudio. So as a Dresden Files fan, I'm just happy to see this like welcome more people into the wizard's cloak or duster. But in some quickie news, we have seen Devine Rivals get tapped for adaptation over in Hollywood from Paramount, with Sofia Alvarez, known for To All the Boys I've Loved Before, to pen the script adapting Rebecca Ross's bestseller. And while I've not consumed this book, Kayla has, and she will rave about how much she loves it. And for those that don't know, the story is set in the shadow of an ancient war between dueling gods, and tells of a pair of young rival journalists that fall in love while writing each other anonymous letters on an enchanted typewriter. The story has influences of You've Got Mail, World War I, and magic. I really expected to see this as I could lose the time war in like the comparisons. But in some news I am really excited for, The Expanse is going to be getting an action RPG single player AAA looking game. And The Expanse, Osiris Reborn, has me tingling with excitement because while I'm not an MMORPG fan, I am a SRPG fan. I don't like dealing with other people. I want to be like Baldur's Gating it on my own. And the trailer for this had no actual gameplay, but does it's Expanse. I'm excited, and I enjoy the fact that this is kind of coming full circle. While The Expanse is best known for being an epic sci-fi series that was eventually turned into a show, it was actually initially conceived by one of the two authors who came together to write it as an MMORPG. But Ty Frank, after working with it for a while, decided to change it into a tabletop RPG. Then, after meeting Abraham, they decided to go ahead and turn it into the epic we came to know and love that was then adapted and turned into the cultural phenomena, which now is turning around and becoming a single-player RPG. It's like nearly full circle. I'm glad it's not completely, because I'm not an MMORPG fan. Neat. But speaking of epic sci-fi adaptations transition, we have seen Doug Jung tapped to be the showrunner for Amazon's Mass Effect adaptation. And I looked into this guy's full resume, and just being perfectly honest with you, it seemed like, okay, this seems like someone who can do it. I didn't hate the guy's resume, I didn't love it. There's some stuff in there I really enjoy, others that I'm skeptical about. If I had to look at the thing that actually gives me the most excitement, it would actually be that Doug has the greatest level of experience as a writer, and to me, that makes me hope he as a showrunner will give the writing as much time to cook as it should. Because as big as a fan as I am of the Mass Effect games, on a writing level, they are structured entirely for a video game experience. So what you can keep and cut from that, and how much you need to actually shrink down the main cast of characters, because depending on how many seasons you get, you gotta do that, needs a lot of thought, time, and care. Speaking about writing time, that's gonna be related to the positive rant at the end, because I'm kind of ranting at you all we'll talk about, we'll get there. Foreshadowing.
It's 1:30 a.m. and I have writer's block, so I'm just gonna add 2 stories in here to tell myself I'm being productive. The first one is that apparently Warner Brothers is going to be splitting into 2 companies, one to focus on their traditional broadcast media and the other to focus on their massive streaming empire, which I guess makes sense, but it's just not something I certainly expected to see. And then also, Disney is going to pay to purchase the rest of Hulu, have full control for $430 million. And I'm gonna be real, that's surprisingly low. I would have thought that would have been higher north in a day and age where like movies make $1 billion. It feels like you should pay more than that to get a rest of a streaming service. I guess they already had a bunch of it, but still.
But before we get there, we have 3 trailers I would like to talk about this week. The first is for Alien Earth. The trailer was posted to the FX Network YouTube channel, but is also going to be available on Hulu and Disney Plus. And I keep wanting to count out the Alien franchise, but I keep getting pulled back in. The idea of Aliens on Earth is something I've wanted for a while, and having this epic spaceship crash setting is really cool. And there's a specific line in this trailer that made my internal geek tingle.
It's like a zoo, but the animals got out.
This ship collected 5 different life forms from the darkest corners of the universe. Monsters.
And I'm sitting here okay, so you got xenomorphs, facehuggers maybe, I don't know if they're all in the same wheelhouse, but could there be something that starts with a P in there? Could we get another Predalien? I don't, that's the thing where the Alien movies in the begun were smart and insightful, and then they became really good schlock. And so in both parts of my fandom, I want them to be good, thoughtful alien movies, but then at the same time, I'm Predator alien fight, cool. You know what I mean? Then we also had a trailer drop for yet another Dracula adaptation. This time coming from director Luc Besson, who you may know from The Professional, The Fifth Element, Lucy. And while I'm a fan of all of those, admittedly, I was kind of Dracula again, we're going there already. But it's got Christoph Waltz involved, and Christoph Waltz plus Dracula, that's
a bingo.
Damn, that's a way to get me. I'm in. I will do another Dracula story, but that's not the final trailer we'll be talking about today. And the actual final trailer we'll be talking about today is for the second Wicked movie, completing the second half of the musical, Wicked for Good. And if I had one critique of the musical, which I do love overall, is that the second half did, in my opinion, feel a little bit rushed. And I feel like the Dorothy and crew elements could have been given a bit more time to marinate within the overall story. And with the movies being split into 2, with the extra time, I'm hoping that's where the script is leading. Though I don't have like a ton of criticisms. I really like the musical and I liked the first movie. So yeah, my butt will be sat in theaters for this one. But now it is time for something that I have so much appreciation for, and that is because Mike Flanagan, my personal favorite person working in live action horror on the screen, has given an update to his Dark Tower adaptation, something that has been in the works for a long time, since I think before or during the pandemic, but obviously pandemic strikes and so much more happened, delaying the process, but that's not the only reason it's taking so long. That's because the showrunner stated in an interview, it's not that I've put it down, it's just that the thing is so big. It's like building an oil tanker. We've been moving it forward this whole time. It's just that that's how big it is. It's constantly in the works. And you better believe, as often as you guys may want to ask about it, Stephen King is asking me about it more. And I'm not gonna let him down. Read my lips. Let him cook. Leave him be. It's Mike motherfucking Flanagan. He's done Midnight Mass, Fall of the House of Usher, and Hush. And I even like the director's cut of his Shining sequel, which, oh my God, making a sequel to The Shining that I don't hate, that feels like coming close to catching lightning in a bottle twice. If Mike Flanagan wants to take his time with Dark Tower, I would rather his vision of it be released when I'm 40 than when I'm 32 and be half-baked. We are in an interesting time for fantasy adaptations, where it feels like a ton of stuff is being halfway invested in to then be thrown at the wall and see what sticks. In my opinion, what'll actually help set the tone of adaptations in this post-Game of Thrones crash-out world is going to be an adaptation that has a visionary behind it that has given all the TLC it loves before it's brought forth. And Mike Flanagan is one of the few creators in the Hollywood space that actually has the pull to allow himself to get this time and a studio to still give him a massive budget for it. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but the ingredients for me to be maximum hype are coming together.
And again, thank you to Hulu for sponsoring today's video. Go to tryhulu.com/DanielGreen and get yours today.
But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and hopefully later this week get your first look at our Eye of the World summary. And yes, because of that, there will be a big slowdown in videos on the main channel here, but I will still be doing like more lightly edited but I will still be doing some more lightly edited videos over on my second channel. I plan on posting my Wandering In re-review over there hopefully later this week, and go ahead and check that one out. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.